What screams I'm poor but pretend I'm rich? My old roommate spent his entire financial aid refund on a Gucci belt because the security guard at the mall assumed he couldn't afford it. There is a security guard that works at a popular club in my city. He managed to buy an old Lambo recently. On the weekends, he will drive by the bar several times before his shift as people are lined up outside revving his engine while at the stoplight. His new thing is pulling onto the sidewalk in front of the bar, parking it, getting out, saying hi to everyone he works with, waiting for people to walk by the car so he can let them know it's his, and then leaving again revving the engine as loud as possible on the sidewalk. He does this for about 2 hours before his shift starts at 11 or 12. If you have money and can afford nice cars, you do not need to show them off. Naming your children after luxury brands. How my Dominican family fights tooth and nail to give their kids Nike or Adidas before they can even walk. My brother always carries a wad of cash in a money clip. He has a $100 bill on the outside, but the rest is all $1s. It's all for show. He has no money and lives with my parents. It's generally good advice if you have a lot of money to keep your wealth secret, or at least ambiguous, else people try to take advantage of you. Most wealthy people follow that rule, or they learn it pretty quickly. So anyone trying to show wealth is either new to it or showing more than they have. Posting selfies posed with things that aren't yours. A few years back, my dad brought home one of those fancier-looking square plates. He then told my mom that he wanted all of his dinners served only on this plate. We lived in a trailer park and always had cheap things for dinner, but for some reason he felt like he was special enough to only use this plate and be the only one allowed to use it too. At some point, she forgot and put his food on a different plate. He yelled at her, threw that food in the trash, and broke his special plate. Dude is poor financially and poor in his treatment of his family, so this is a pretty good answer to me. I have a relatively poor friend who doesn't have a TV or anything, but they go around in a several hundred-pound tracksuit and wear fake diamond rings they bought on Wish, which he tells people are real. Following, constantly posting stupid entrepreneur shit on Instagram. Taking pictures in a fake luxury airplane. Asking people on Facebook to get in on your Herbalife scheme. Bragging about how you're going to get rich from crypto, but you keep talking about a different coin every week. Used to work at a 7-Eleven's. Once a month for a week this guy would come in with a rented green Cadillac and a very obvious prostitute on his arm. Would flash a wad of money while in the store and make it very specific that he wants $10 on that green Cadillac right there. Coworker told me he does it with his SSI check. Bragging about how much money you have, clothes and accessories with huge logos on them. Posting pictures of new items you purchased on Instagram and stuff. Especially cause the brands that actually impress rich folks are the ones the rest of us have never even heard of. An expensive, current year model car, parked in front of a low-income apartment complex. I worked a min-wage job for a long time and it was crazy to me how many of my coworkers always had the newest iPhone, an expensive Starbucks drink twice a day, and obviously expensive clothes, hair, and makeup. It just all went on credit. However, it is ridiculously expensive to live where I am. $1 million for a 1,000 square foot home built in the 1980s level. Expensive, and I think the apathy over knowing they will never own a home no matter how hard they work and save leads people to simply buy what gives them that rush of dopamine and makes their day-to-day life more enjoyable. Rent is also super expensive here, about $1,500 a month for a one-bedroom 500 square foot place. It's hard to blame people for spending the little bit of money they have left over at the end of the month on fun things rather than saving it. For British people, holidays to Dubai, often the same price as going to Spain but somehow seen as flashy and aspirational despite being a miserable hole built on slavery. Not entirely sure if this belongs here, but here goes. I work as a host in a small restaurant with average prices $10 to $15 a plate, plus drinks, etc. Yesterday, two middle-aged women with generic Korean haircuts pulled up in a new Mercedes, came in, and immediately became outraged that we had a waiting list, due to being understaffed in the middle of a lunch rush. I offered to put them on the list, and one of them pulls out her credit card, shows it to me, and assertively says, "Okay, are you going to seat us now?" I assumed that she had one of those limitless cards, which I literally couldn't care less about, and told her that it didn't matter, and she'd just have to wait. They went and stood outside even though we had set up chairs so people could sit while they wait, and glared at me the entire time. They kept coming in and asking why I couldn't seat them, which I answered with the truthful answer of being terribly understaffed. As to servers and a cook had been injured in a car accident that morning, they're fine, no major injuries, but the car was totaled. Eventually, after a 20-minute wait, I call them and seat them on the patio, and they proceed to order about $80 worth of food and drinks, going so far as to pour their first round of Bloody Marys onto the ground just to prove to the unfortunate people around them that they didn't care about the cost of their food. Then, when they were given their bill, they wait until the server goes back inside, and they run out of the patio gate, hop in their car, and drive away without paying. Unfortunately for them, Karen had decided to back into her parking space out front, with her license plate clearly visible to the outside security camera. A police report was then immediately filed by my manager. It was a good day. Later, a couple of Karens drove up to my restaurant in a new car, flashed their credit cards at us, wasted food to prove how little they cared about money, drove away without paying their bill, and are now most likely in jail. Seen hordes of women shopping at a Walmart with Louis Vuitton handbags, Gucci clothes, etc., but they buy the cheapest food we have because they think spending their money on a fucking several $100 handbag is more important than healthy food. I'm a Walmart employee. I come in contact with wealthy people through my work at times, and the guy, who I consider a prime example, does not live modestly by my middle-class standards. He travels exclusively by private jet, has a very expensive home, etc., etc. The differences I've noticed between someone like him and someone pretending to be wealthy are these. 1. He doesn't flaunt it for the sake of flaunting it. There's no Instagram, no giant wads of cash. When he shows off his wealth, it's by getting his name on buildings or endowments. 2. He's very entitled, but it's a different flavor of entitlement than I've seen from people pretending to be rich. He just sort of bumbles through life assuming someone's going to make it happen every time he wants something, because he pays enough people enough money to generally be right about that. It's not even malicious, he just has no context for how the world works. If you don't have money to throw at all your problems. Talking down to people in service jobs. The cashier, waiter, guy stocking the shelves is not your personal servant, and you don't yell commands at them. One of my friends comes from a generationally wealthy family who has a live-in butler. The family speaks to the butler with the utmost respect. There is a certain professionalism with the butler doesn't get too close with the family, for example, but he was not looked down upon in any way. My partner and I went to Vegas, but specifically saved up to have a meal at one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants. We sat across from this couple that made quite a circus of themselves, calling the waiter over multiple times, super fancy outfits, flashing their phones around, having a spare chair for her designer purse with a $100 plus on prominent display, etc. Towards the end of the meal, a multi-course meal with apps and several expensive drinks, they started complaining and saying how horrible the food was. Called the manager over, the whole 9 yards. To his credit, the manager seemed to expect this and played hardball right back at them. They ended up paying, but splitting it on like 3 cards, fine dining and free entertainment. Not licking the lids of yogurt before throwing it away. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe and share your similar stories in the comments. See you soon.